Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 21st of November and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So let's start with the video. In this particular session, we are going to take entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We'll take all relevant articles which are important for our examination and we will cover their background as well as way forward. Also, I would like to inform you that you can download explainer notes of this particular session from Telegram channel. Link for channel has been given in description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, let's take overview of this entire session of the paper so that you can understand that which articles are relevant in today's newspaper. So here we have Delhi edition and the first article that we have here is this governor can't withhold repassed bills, says Supreme Court. So, if you remember, in yesterday's newspaper, we have discussed this entire issue of governor, where we have seen that many state governments, they have approached Supreme Court, such as Tamil Nadu, Kerala, where they say that governor is not giving approval to the bill. Government has withheld SN2 bill. Also, governor is not clearing bill in a dedicated time-bound manner. So, in this context, Supreme Court has provided that government cannot withhold repassed bills, says Supreme Court. If a bill has been again sent to the governor, governor cannot withhold this particular thing. Okay, so we have taken it up. Moreover, guys, I will advise you to please watch yesterday's newspaper analysis if you have not seen, because this entire controversy we have discussed in detail, all the things, that is article 200 and all such kind of things. We have taken this particular thing. Okay, so that is something that has happened. Then further moving on, China is the biggest security anxiety for India and Australia. So guys, recently we have seen that China has started showing the hegemonic attitude into the region. So because of that particular thing, fine, basically what has happened, it has been said that the China is the biggest anxiety issue. Then moving on in this particular direction, guys, after that we come to city section. In city section, we largely have the regional issues, etc. Not very much important for examination, so no need to go too much in that particular detail. And then these tenders, advertisements, etc. are largely carried here. So guys, we will be moving on and directly will reach to editorial section, because till the editorial we don't have much of relevant articles. So in editorial, first article that we have here, making sense of employment challenge. So this is a good article because recently there was a proposal of 70-hour work week that was proposed by Mr. Narayan Murthy. So we'll take this article. Then here we have this article, end of dream run. So it talks about recent cricket World Cup that was held, in which Australia won. For examination, no need to go too much in this particular article. Then further, a fact checking unit, that is unconstitutional. So we'll see this particular article for examination. Okay. So guys, here the presidential election of Argentina are being discussed. Then moving on, a renewed focus on emerging technologies. We'll take this particular article also for examination. Now this is a state of play article with respect to Karnataka. Okay. Now this state of play article, it talks about the political controversies, political stakes in different states. So today they are talking about Karnataka. Now guys, again for UPSC examination as such, much substance is not there. So if you have interest, you can read it. But for examination, need not to go too much in that particular detail. Then further moving on, after that, in text and context, we have this article, the Bangladesh garment workers unrest. So we'll take this particular article with respect to neighborhood and their issues. So we'll cover this. Then on next page, we have this article, how free cancer care alone won't help fight against cancer in India. We'll take this article also. Then further moving on in this particular direction, Australia draws a line between peaceful protest and violence and vandalism. Okay, so basically this is an interview with Penny Wong. Okay, uh, again moving on in this particular direction, guys. So center selective transfer appointments may trigger embarrassing outcome. So Supreme Court has cautioned that particular thing, because we see that many number of times, because of political vendetta, these particular transfers have been made. Then political articles, again, need not to go too much in that particular detail, because for examination questions are not framed on that. Okay, eradication of Sanatan Dharma will annihilate Rajasthan's culture. No need to go in such kind of things. Okay, BJP made false claims. So you got that idea. Then moving on in this, here we have one article, more finance needed to wean India's electricity grid of coal. We'll take this particular article. Then Marathas never discriminated on basis of caste. India block student outfit protest against NEP. Not much important substances provided. Then guys, in world page also, we today don't have much relevant articles here. The article with respect to Israel Hamas war, its update that are there. It has come, and this article talks about the win of the far-right populist leader Javier Milei, okay, who has won the presidential runoff elections. Then moving on, in business page we have this article, subsidies to spur growth for now. We'll take this particular article for examination. Then guys, we have corporate trends etc. in this particular direction. And let's see article that is there in science page. So we have sports page in between. In science page, sometimes we have good articles which are relevant for our examinations, but sometimes articles are not that much relevant. So today's article that we have, meet the Langland's program, the world's biggest maths project. Okay, so basically guys, the article what it is talking about, okay, the Langland program that attempts to find a connection between two far-flung area of mathematics, number theory and harmonic analysis. So guys, I have read this article, but article is not containing substance relevant for our UPSC examination, because in examination we need to see the application of science and technology, their application in our day-to-day life, in economy, in defense and all such kind of things. Now this article is talking about the Langland's program, which aims to connect number theory, harmonic analysis. This is on core mathematics. So for examination, not that much relevant. I will not advise you to go in that. Okay, and with this, this is the end of the newspaper. And one more thing, though I have told it many number of times, many of aspirants in newspaper that you are getting, maybe in the physical copy, science page and text and context is missing in many of the editions. So don't worry, we'll cover here. Okay, now let's discuss all these relevant articles one by one in detail. And as I've told you, you can download synoptic notes in which notes of this entire session has been given. So in synoptic notes, we start every class with GS quotation, and this quotation can be used to complement your answers in GS papers as well as in essay. So today we'll take quotation from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Chief Architect of Indian Constitution. So Dr. Ambedkar says, rights are not protected just by law, but by social and moral conscience of the society. So we just think that because Constitution provides certain fundamental rights, you will get these fundamental rights. No, that is not the case. Exercise of our rights, exercise of our entitlements, it is based on to the ethical and moral conscience of the society. Now, what is conscience? Conscience is an inner moral compass which tells us what is right, what is wrong. So if majority becomes adamant that it does not want to give the right to minority, then even law cannot do much. Even enforcement agencies such as police cannot do much if the majority becomes rigid. So if you are exercising your rights, if there is a congeniality in the society, it is because of collective conscience is there in society, moral ethical conscience is there in the society. It needs to be upheld at all the cost, because that is important for effective functioning of government, that is important for effective exercise of rights, and that is the important condition for democracy to prevail in a society. So this is about quotation. You can use this particular quotation in ethics GS paper number 4 as well as in GS paper number 2 answers of governance, and in essay you can, all these places this quotation can be utilized. Now moving on, moreover, one thing I would like to tell you, that nowadays essays, they more of a philosophical flair essays are being asked, so their complementing essays with such quotations can really help you to enhance quality of your answers. Now let's take first article for the today. So first article that we are going to take is this text and context page article, Bangladesh workers unrest. We'll take this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, issues in our neighborhood. Also guys, we will see this particular issue with respect to the concerns and problems in textile sector, which happens to be an important economic sector, and for GS paper number 3 also some related concepts we are going to take. Okay, now before going on in this article, let's take some basic background information. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that there is a particular domain of manufacturing, that is low end manufacturing. Low end manufacturing. Okay, let's listen this particular thing, guys, that now see, basically in 19 during 1978-79, China came with the open door policy. China came with the open door policy. This open door policy was nothing but China's LPG reform. So in India, we have liberalization, privatization, globalization that came in 1991. So similar reforms China brought under the name of open door policy in 1978-79. And this was the period after which China started to register the double-digit growth. Initially, China's double-digit growth was based on low-end manufacturing, low-end manufacturing. And in this low-end manufacturing, textiles, apparels, textiles, shoes, okay, or those kind of manufacturing in which much high-end technology will not needed was utilized. Now, why China opted for this particular thing? It is because of cheap labor. It is because of cheap labor that was there in China, and you already might be knowing that China had the largest population. Now guys, what happened post 1980s till 2010? China has grown at a double digit growth rate. Now what has happened in China? Labor has become more skilled, cost of labor has increased, and now China is transitioning from low end manufacturing to high end manufacturing. Why? Because laborers which were ready to work at low wages are not ready, because now they have become skilled. And now China is transitioning to machine to machine communication, renewable energies, okay, jet manufacturing, all such kind of a thing. So what has happened? A lot of space has been emptied by China, and the firms which were earlier operating in China because of cheap labor, now they cannot sustain there because labor cost has increased. So they want to move to some other countries. And where they are moving? They are moving to countries such as Malaysia, Bangladesh, Philippines, Indonesia, and some of them are coming to India also. Vietnam is also there. Okay. And Bangladesh is one which has, amongst the low-end manufacturing, Bangladesh has absorbed textile manufacturing. Bangladesh has absorbed textile manufacturing. So apparel manufacturers, they have moved to Bangladesh. And today guys, when we talk about Bangladesh, textile sector of Bangladesh is the most important pillar of backbone of Bangladesh economy. Is it clear? And let me share you some data. Let me share some data with you in this particular respect. Okay. So guys, when we talk about the clothing, textiles, garment manufacturing, you see this particular thing, that Bangladesh is the world's second largest exporter of fast fashion or ready-made garments. Ready-made garments, fast fashion. Okay, it is the second largest exporter after China. China still accounts a considerable space here, but that space is reducing. That space is reducing. Okay. Now guys, when we talk about the ready-made garments, that is the fast fashion, it accounts around 85% in the export earnings of Bangladesh. So in 2022, Bangladesh earned $55 billion due to exports, and out of that $55 billion that it made by exporting ready-made garments, $55 billion that it total made, 85% came because of the ready-made garment. Okay. Now, what has happened? What has happened? Garment sector, it employs largest labor force. It employs largest labor force. Around 4.4 million people work in ready-made garments in Bangladesh. Now they have started protest. Why they have started protest? Because they want that minimum wage that is given to garment workers, it should be revised. So right now they are being paid a minimum wage of 8,000 Bangladeshi taka, They want that it should be revised 3 times, that is to 23,000 Bangladeshi takas. And opposition party is also supporting these workers, and workers have started protest. Even largest opposition party, that is BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, they have also declared a 2-day general strike and has asked ruling government, that is Awami League government, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign if they are not able to solve this particular kind of crisis. Okay, government has offered wage hike, but workers are not ready to take that hike because they say it is too little and too late. It is too little and too late. Okay, now when we talk about when we talk about garment manufacturing in Bangladesh, we find this particular thing that there are more than 4,000 manufacturing facilities in Bangladesh, and most of them are small. They are small or medium enterprises, small and medium enterprises, and majority of them hire women workers from rural areas. One more point I would like to add on here is that when we talk about low-end manufacturing, it makes a lot of sense for those countries which have high poverty and high population. Even for India, there was a in 2016 economic survey, there was there was a chapter that is by the name of shoes and jeans. That chapter recommended that for India also we need to focus on low end manufacturing such as manufacturing of apparels and shoes. Why? Because in these kind of industries, largest expenditure is on labor wages. Okay, a lot of things are done still manually, so therefore it can absorb large number of people. In Bangladesh also, large unemployment has been tackled by this garment industry, and we see this particular thing because of this poverty has been reduced considerably. There was 44.2% poverty rate in Bangladesh in 1991, and it has reduced to just 5% in 2022. Why? Because of employment that has been created by this ready-made garment industry. Also, now we see this particular thing that what has happened, actually problem that has emerged in Bangladesh is high inflation, steep inflation, which has become even more problematic post pandemic, post Russia Ukraine war that is going on, because by that what has happened, oil prices have increased, and oil prices, it drives overall inflation. So because of that, workers, they protest that survival has become difficult, and as survival has become difficult, they want revision in the wages. Okay, now also one more dimension we will see here. So basically guys, you see that when we talk about large fashion brands such as Nike, H&M, Nike, H&M, Zara, Levi's, okay, they do substantial procurement of their garments, their shoes from Bangladesh. Okay, and we have seen and actually this has been criticized that these corporates, they have a corporate greed. What has happened? Because they can make super normal profits, they are paying way less to workers in Bangladesh. Now guys, here you see this particular thing, there is one word that is written neoliberalism's race to bottom approach. Now what does it mean? First of all, what is meaning of neoliberalism or neoliberalistic policies? So neoliberalistic policies are those policies which are pro market, and we have seen that post 1980s what has happened, governments, they have adopted a pro market tilt where they are more focusing on ease of doing business, and whenever this particular thing what happens, worker rights will often get negated. Okay, workers welfare will often get negated, corporate will be given a free hand for the sake of improving ease of doing business. So because of that particular thing, these brands such as Nike, H&M, Zara, they are procuring their garments from these countries and they are paying them pennies. Their working conditions are not very much good. Moreover guys, understand this thing that now what is happening, even manufacturing is shifting to these poor and emerging economies because of a reason, of decarbonization. Now what is decarbonization? Countries have taken these particular targets that they will decarbonize, they will achieve net zero. What is net zero? It means that whatever carbon emission they are emitting and what they are absorbing, it will be balanced out. Now as countries want to achieve net zero, all the polluting industries, they want to send in poor countries. Okay, now guys, when we talk about fashion industry. Fashion industry is responsible for 2 to 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, and therefore, rich countries, whatever teeny tiny manufacturing has been left in developed countries, they are also getting shifted towards countries such as Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, labor regulations are very poor, and these big brands take advantage of those poor labor regulations and will pay very less. Working conditions will be very poor. All such things will happen. It shows an example of corporate greed, and it also shows an example of apathy of governments in such countries. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular entire article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to next article. Okay, how free cancer care alone won't help the fight against cancer in India. Now, we'll take this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, Social Justice and Health. GS paper number 2, Social Justice and Health. We'll take this particular article. Now, first of all, before going in this article, let's take some basic background information that will be helpful to you. Okay, so basically, uh, guys, understand this particular thing, that we have seen that cancer prevalence has increased rapidly in past few decades, and actually cancer and other lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, okay, they have become silent killers according to Lancet Health Journal report. According to the Lancet Health, they have become silent killers. And when we talk about cancer, prevalence of cancer will increase. Prevalence of cancer will increase to alarming levels by 2040, and it is estimated that by 2040 there would be 20 lakh people who would be diagnosed with cancer in India. Okay, and many of these people that we see that they will get infected by cancer, many of them will be from lower middle income groups or will be from poor economic classes, and because of that affordability will become a big concern. And because affordability of cancer treatment would not be there, it will lead to social injustices. Now guys, find this particular thing. Even today, cancer is third leading cause of death in India. Cancer is third leading cause of death in India. Now guys, when we talk about particularly cancer, treatment is exorbitantly high. Though government has come out with certain dedicated schemes, for example, government under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana provides an health insurance of up to 5 lakh rupees per family per year. But this is not sufficient given the exorbitant expenditure that is to be incurred for treating cancer. Moreover, guys, when we talk about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, many of families are not eligible to avail the benefits of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So what happens? People, they actually become dependent on the government facilities. Now understand this thing. In government facilities, cancer treatment is free of cost. But problem is that these government facilities don't have adequate infrastructure to provide services to all the people who need them. Now guys, if I give you some idea, in government hospitals of Delhi, there is a waiting period of 6 months to 2 years for an MRI. There, if a chemotherapy session is needed, then there is a waiting period of 3 to 6 months. Okay, now point is that this kind of a time is not there with the people who are at advanced stages of cancer. So there are so many people who need treatment, but government does not have that capacity. This is also because of the fact that government expenditure on healthcare has been way less. Now guys, if I just give you one input here, National Health Policy in 2017 recommended that India at least need to spend 2.5% of GDP on health, but we are spending around 1.6 to 1.8% on health. So our expenditure on health is not adequate. Human resource on healthcare is not adequate. Facilities are in the healthcare are not adequate. So therefore, people, they depend on private facilities, and in private facilities, they face the problem of out of pocket expenditure. Out of pocket expenditure. Now, what is out of pocket expenditure? Out of pocket expenditure means, let's say 100 rupees have been spent on healthcare. Out of this 100, how much money you mobilized through external sources, for example, by selling your gold, by selling some asset, or by borrowing money. So the money that you had, the money that you did not had, but still you spent on health, that is out of pocket expenditure. And if I give you some data, though article does not mentions, but according to our world in data and UN report, in India, out of pocket expenditure stands at around 55%. Means out of every 100 rupees that are being spent on health, 55 rupees are out of pocket. People did not had, but they arranged money either by selling some asset or by borrowing or by taking some loan. Is it clear or not? That is the case. One thing. Now, when we talk about out of pocket expenditure, there are direct medical out of pocket expenditure and indirect out of pocket medical expenditure. What is direct? Direct is what you have to pay upfront. For example, there will be doctor's consultation fees that you have to pay, cost of medicines that you have to pay, many medical tests are to be done. Okay, transportation, when you go to hospital, transportation is there. All these are direct out of pocket expenditures. Then second is indirect out of pocket expenditure. Now, what is indirect out of pocket expenditure? Now, guys, see that when a person got infected by cancer, and as a person is on, let's say, on a chemotherapy, is on a radiation, is on some kind of a treatment, often that person might not be able to do physical activity, often might not be able to do their work. And as they are not able to do their work, they will lose their livelihood. Often when breadwinner of a family gets infected by the cancer and they are not able to do work, entire family suffers. So lost wages because you are not able to go on work because of the disease, that is indirect out of pocket expenditure. And in combination, they increase the financial miseries, financial distress of people. Okay. Now, moreover, also with respect to the cancer, when the people get infected by cancer, there are many other problems also that are there. Now, guys, if I give you data, according to Niti Aayog, by 2030, 41% of India's population will live in urban areas, which means roughly 60% people are still living in rural areas. So when we talk about, guys, 60 to 70% of country's population, they live in rural areas, but hospitals which treat cancer, they are in urban area. So people have to move from rural area to urban area for the treatment of cancer. And when they come to urban areas, they face high living cost. Rentals are very high. Transportation in urban area is very expensive. So going from their home to treatment facility, it becomes very much expensive for people. And for that, they again have to borrow money. They have to sell their assets. Now, in this capacity, there are few government initiatives that are there. Let's see what government initiatives we have. Now, first of all, guys, many of the governments, for example, Haryana government since 2012 is providing has made transportation free for the patients and for their caregivers. Also, when we talk about the Kerala gives 50% concession on public bus tickets if journey is being made by the cancer patients and their caregivers. Now, Delhi has come out really with a very good scheme, that is Arogya Kosh scheme, and please you write it in your answers. Now, what is this Arogya Kosh scheme? So, under Arogya Kosh scheme, people who are earning less than 3 lakh rupees per year, they are eligible to get free of cost diagnostic test even at private facilities. For example, they can avail free of cost ultrasound, CT scans in private healthcare centers. This is good. But on negative side, 93% people in capital according to a survey, 93% people, they don't know that this kind of a scheme exists. So guys, this is also a very big concern, and whenever you are writing answers on governance, you need to keep this particular thing also in mind, and you need to write this dimension that just existence of scheme will not magically solve the problem, but implementation of a scheme also plays a very important role. Often awareness of a scheme also needs to be there. Okay, then moving on in this particular capacity, guys, what should be our way forward? Our way forward is that because public capacity, government capacity to deal cancer is very much less, so at every nook and corner in rural as well as urban areas, we need to open up more cancer care centers. Now obviously this might look little bit unachievable given the expenditure or money that will be needed. Moreover, it will get implemented in at least 5-7 years, but today we need to do a beginning, only then it could be tackled. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now moving to the next article. Okay, a fact check unit that is unconstitutional. A fact check unit that is unconstitutional. So we'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, polity. GS paper number 2, polity and governance. Okay, so first of all, let's take the basic background information and then we'll go in this particular article's detail. So basically, guys, there are two similar developments that have happened in last 1 year or so. Let's discuss first of all this development and then we'll go in detail. So guys, first of all, what has happened recently, government of Tamil Nadu has issued a government order and has constituted a fact checking unit, FCU. What is this fact checking unit? It will be a dedicated government agency which will check the fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and if there is any fake information, it will flag that and will educate public that don't believe this information or this news, it is a fake news. Okay, so fact checking unit by government of Tamil Nadu. Also, what happened, government of India has done a similar thing. So government of India recently amended IT rules 2021. IT rules 2021. Now you need not to remember entire expanded name of this. Just you can write IT rules 2021. And what they have done, they have also notified that government of India will also constitute a fact check unit so that they can identify fake, false or misleading information. Now already center government's fact checking units, that government order has been challenged in Bombay High Court, and Bombay High Court had said that they will give a final judgment on 1st of December, and till then government has given an assurance to Bombay High Court that we will not notify that fact checking unit until final judgment comes. So this matter has been challenged in the court. Now this article largely explains that what are issues that these fact checking units are being challenged or why these fact checking units are being criticized. First of all, guys, what will be the modus operandi of these fact checking units, how they will operate? I will explain you that particular thing. So basically, guys, these fact checking unit, they have been given power that on suo motu basis or at their own initiative, if they find that some information is misleading, some information is fake, they can take that particular matter with them. Okay, so these fact checking unit, they have been given suo motu powers, okay, that they can take cognizance of any social media post, social media article. Okay, also if they want, they can register the complaint from any third party. Then by different mechanisms, they will check that particular news. For example, they will run it through government sources, they will run it through PIB, and they will check that whether the information is correct or not. If information is not correct, then government will create their post, messages, creatives, and will inform people that XYZ news is fake. Now, what the implications of these fact checking units will be there on fundamental rights. So number one, guys, it has been said that it will lead to a chilling effect. It will lead to a devastating effect on freedom of speech and expression, which has been given to us by article number 19, subclause 1, subclause A of Constitution. So freedom of speech and expression. Now, guys, how it will impact freedom of speech and expression? See this particular thing. See, suppose if an economist, if a political analyst has written an editorial published in the Hindu newspaper, and in that editorial he or she has criticized government's policies, okay, or has said that government failed to deliver on these economic promises, then arbitrarily government can take that particular piece of information and condemn that it is wrong, it is fake. Okay, now you know that already India stands at a point where basically legitimacy of organizations has already been questioned, and it has already been seen that often the agencies are being used for political purpose. So basically, guys, it has been said that government becomes the sole arbiter of truth. Whatever organization they will create for fact checking, they will become the sole arbiters of truth. They will only define what is truth, what is not truth, what will stay in the society, what will not stay in the society. Okay, and what can happen, what can happen. And guys, incidentally, if just I'm looking for a book that I had. Okay, so basically, if you read Animal Farm, if you read Animal Farm, okay, if you read George Orwell's book, so George Orwell has written extensively on this particular thing, that when government becomes a sole arbiter of deciding what is true, what is false, it leads to a lot of catastrophic event, and similar thing might happen. So freedom of speech and expression will be muzzled up, one thing. Second thing that comes here in this particular capacity is that, guys, see, though fundamental right article 19 is not sacrosanct, it is qualified, and your freedom of speech and expression can be curtailed on the grounds that are mentioned in article 19 subclause 2. What are these grounds? Grounds are sovereignty, integrity of India, security of state, friendly relation, public order, decency, morality. Okay, on these particular factors, what can happen? Your freedom of speech and expression can be curtailed. But there are certain other things that need to be kept in mind. Number one, if your freedom of speech and expression is to be restricted, that particular thing can only be done through a law. And Supreme Court has provided this particular thing, that what is a law? Law is a piece of legislation that is passed by the state. Now, government order is not a law. Government order technically is not a law. Okay, so number one, it says that it becomes ultra virus, it becomes illegitimate. Second thing that has been provided is that, particularly when we talk about the Tamil Nadu's fact checking unit, it uses one phrase, information related to the government of Tamil Nadu. Information related to the government of Tamil Nadu. All that information will be cross-checked by the fact-checking unit, and if they found them wrong, they will disallow them. Now, what does it means? What does it means? What does it means? That what is information related to the government of Tamil Nadu? Simply, if an editorial piece, if any news item has been published by a journalist, that you can also say that it is information related to government of Tamil Nadu, and you will put it on hold also. So, it has been said that it makes this particular government order vague and arbitrary. It makes it vague and arbitrary. Moreover, biggest criticism that has come here, there is no remedy, no opportunity to hear the author of the post. Suppose any journalist has written an editorial or has written any piece of information, and that information is said that fake. You are not giving any chance to that person to put a representation. Okay, their remedy is not there. So government becomes the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Government becomes the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Okay. Moreover, guys, article also recognizes this particular thing, that fake information, misinformation, disinformation. Okay, first of all, understand this particular thing, that misinformation and disinformation are different. Misinformation is a wrong information. For example, I got a wrong information, okay, and I felt okay, or I felt that this information is right, and I passed on that particular information to some another person. So this is misinformation that is floating. I did not had knowledge. I got a wrong information. I trusted it to be true. I passed it on. So this is misinformation that is flowing. Then the next is disinformation. What is disinformation? Disinformation is distorted information. So I had true information. For example, I got one photograph, and this photograph I know is from, let's say, some other country. Okay, but I can portray this photograph that this photograph is from India, and by portraying this photograph from India, I can ignite tensions in two of the communities. Okay, and I deliberately distorted information and pushed it into the public domain. This is a disinformation. So misinformation is wrong information, but the person who is passing information, he does not has knowledge that it is a wrong information. Disinformation is a deliberately distorted information where the person passing information has a knowledge that this information is wrong, or he or she has deliberately distorted that information. Now this disinformation and misinformation has become a very big problem in functioning of democracies, and we see that it played a big negative role even during the presidential elections of 2016 in USA. Also during Brexit referendum of 2016, misinformation, disinformation played a big role. Okay, and it is to be curtailed, but process needs to be more participatory. And here guys, we have one example of Europe. Please use it in your answers. So basically what has happened in Europe, so what has happened in Europe recently, European Commission, just a minute. Yes, so in Europe recently, European Commission has issued code of practice on disinformation. Code of practice on disinformation. Now this code of practice on disinformation also tries to arrest fake news, misinformation, disinformation, but this particular code has been framed after a consultative process, and in this consultative process, intermediaries, social media platforms such as Facebook, X, Google, they have been consulted. But in India, in the case of Tamil Nadu or in the case of central government, such consultative process has not been held. So only through the consultative process, only by taking on board different stakeholders, such kind of things should be notified. So that is all guys about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to next article. Making sense of the employment challenge. Making sense of the employment challenge. Okay, now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, employment and workers productivity. Now first of all, before going on in this article, let's take some basic background information, and after that we'll go in this article. So basically you might be knowing that recently one suggestion was given by Mr. N.R. Narayan Murthy, and suggestion was like this, that workers in India should work for more than 70 hours per week if they have to contribute in nation building. And it was equated with the example of countries such as Japan and Germany. So it was said that people in Japan and Germany have worked for more than 70 hours per week after World War II, and by that they were able to reconstruct their economy, and in India also that particular kind of a thing should be done. Now this particular thing has seen mixed responses. On one hand, people are supporting it, that yes, it is right, but on another hand, they are saying that no, it is not right in the present environment. So basically this particular article has given certain suggestions in this particular direction. Now article says that it is true, it is a fact that workers in Japan and Germany has worked for more than 70 years post World War II, and because of that, miraculous rise of Japan and Germany also happened post 1950. But also article is explaining that this is not entirely true that if you make a person to work for more than 70 hours, magically country will become a developed nation or economic rise or economic upliftment will happen magically. That will not happen. Now, basically, how this particular issue has been explained. So basically it has been said that output will always be determined by aggregate demand, will always be determined aggregate demand. Let's understand this by a simple analogy. Now guys, let's say I make this pen. I make this pen. Now suppose I am making right now 10 pens, and these 10 pen I make with the help of one of a worker that I have hired. So my helper and me, we are making these 10 pen and we are selling them. Now you tell me, if there is a demand of only 10 pen, will I hire more people? No, it does not make any sense. Suppose tomorrow demand of this particular pen increases to 100 pen every day. Then it is not possible for me or this worker to make 100 pen. I have to hire more and more people. Are you getting it or not? So understand this thing, that output 10 pen or 100 pen, output will be dependent on aggregate demand, total demand. If demand will be more, if demand increases, output also has to be increased. And if output has to be increased, you need to hire more and more people. One thing you need to keep it in your mind. Is it clear or not? You need to keep this thing that there is no demand for labor independent for the demand of goods. If demand of good will not increase, labor requirement will not be there. Now guys, we see this particular thing, that here there is one particular case study that we have seen, that in last 2 years, actually largely in 22, late 21, 22, there are hundreds and thousands of layoffs that have been done by tech country worldwide. And if we see Google, Amazon, they have laid off thousands and thousands of workers which they hired in 2020. First of all, why they hired these many workers in 2020? Because in 2020 lockdown was going on. All the people, they were consuming digital goods and digital services, and therefore these companies such as Amazon, Netflix, edtech companies such as the Unacademy and all such, they had a huge demand of their products. They hired more and more people. And now when the world is becoming normalized, they are laying off these particular people. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Now guys, understand this particular thing. Understand this particular thing, that one thing we will use it in after 5 minutes. Second concept also you need to see, that when we talk about Japan, Germany and South Korea's case. First of all, Japan and Germany, both of these two countries did not had much labor to reconstruct their country after World War II. Why? Because large number of people either died in the war, or large number of people died because of the bombings, attacks that were done by other countries on them. So they did not had people to work. So therefore existing labor has to work for 70 hours, even 80 hours. That was a compulsion for them. That was a compulsion for them. Even when we take the example of South Korea, because of the rivalry between South Korea, North Korea, Korean war in the Korean Peninsula, Korea also faced a lot of shortages of the labor. Fine. Now let's come to India and let's apply these two lessons that we have learned here to the case of India. Now guys, when we talk about India, you need to know first of all this particular thing. You need to know this particular thing first of all, that right now in India, aggregate demand is very much less. Aggregate demand is very much less. Why? People have lost their incomes, okay, into the past 2 years. So aggregate demand is very much less. Unemployment is still very much high. The point is that because of the demand side, we don't require that much labor, and already as unemployment is very much high, where there is a need to make workers 70, where there is the scope to let workers work for 70 hours. Now see this particular thing. Yes. In the economic rise of the countries mentioned above, that is South Korea, Japan and Germany, the post-war reconstruction provided the demand for greater output. Okay. But in India, such kind of condition is not there. Moreover, guys, also when we talk about this particular thing, when we talk about India, the strength First of all, workers' productivity. Workers' productivity is directly related to the health and the skill set of the workers. In India, the workers, most of them don't have that particular skill set that they could be utilized. So before talking that we should go for 70-hour work week, first of all, skill sets are to be given. Secondly, there should be such jobs which require such long working hours. And thirdly, these things work in those cases where labor shortage is there, such as Japan and South Korea and Germany. But in India, there is no labor shortage. So if there is no labor shortage, rather than making few people work tirelessly for long hours, we need to hire more people. That is the optimum strategy for India. Okay, so I hope guys that you have understood this entire issue. Now, moving on in this particular direction, a renewed focus on emerging, just a minute, yes, a renewed focus on emerging technologies, okay. Now, taking up this particular article, so basically guys, what we see that nowadays there is, first of all, this article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, technology, indigenization of technology and adoption of technology in defense applications. So GS paper number 3, technology and defense, will take this particular article. Let's take basic information. So basically guys, we find this that cyber technologies, artificial intelligence, unmanned systems such as unmanned aerial vehicles, okay, advanced computing, it has a lot of application potential in militaries, in the defense around the world. Now guys, India also is procuring high altitude long endurance UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, from USA. 31 HALE, high altitude long endurance UAVs we are procuring. Why? Because guys, we have a 7,500 kilometer of coastline. We have the regions such as the Himalayas, where we want to keep a constant surveillance, and using the actual aircrafts is very much expensive. Also, it often becomes riskier also. So therefore, we can adopt unmanned aerial vehicles. Okay, then for interception, for better surveillance, artificial intelligence, advanced computing can be utilized. Also guys, recently what has happened, this Chanakya Defense Dialogue 2023 was held, and in this Chanakya Defense Dialogue 2023, Chief of Army Staff has identified 75 technologies which has application in military, which has application in the field of military. 45 technologies they have identified. Also guys, under UDAN, now there is one more UDAN, that is Ude Desh Ke Aam Nagrik. That is for providing regional air connectivity. That is a separate UDAN, don't get confused. So under UDAN, which is an initiative by the Indian Air Force, they are also utilizing artificial intelligence, cyber technologies, virtual reality to better to address operational, logistical and training needs. Also Navy is for moving forward with moving forward and encouraging indigenization under Project Swavlamban. So guys, if you remember, a few days back we have discussed also Project Swavlamban, where Navy has identified technologies that will be indigenized. So point is that Air Forces, Navy, Army, all of them are identifying technologies as how they can be indigenized and how their adoption can be done in defense forces. Now, this is not first time. Basically what has happened, India's first drone platforms were inducted in late 1990s in the army, and then drones were inducted in Air Force as well as Navy also by 2000. So this was the time when we started adopting the high-end technologies in our defense forces. But guys, there are certain shortcomings that are there, or there are certain areas of reform that are there by which better utilization and adoption of technology can be done. Now let's understand this particular thing. Now first of all guys, it has been provided that when we talk about Indian military, it largely prioritizes generalization over specialization. generalization over specialization. And it has been said that defense forces, they have largely been hesitant to work with the civilian enterprises, to work with the technocrats, to work with uh, engineers from private sector. They have been hesitant with that. Now article provides this particular thing, that first of all, military, they need to ensure that we are being led by journalist officer. Now the time now the time has come that the ministry should be open to more to incorporating technocrats and qualified personals even from the private sector and wider industry. Also, it has been provided that military officers should be comfortable to work along with the civilians, in particularly they should be more comfortable to work with the technology professionals. They need to embrace them, and that suspicion and that particular kind of a hesitancy that is there, it is to be shunned. Only then proper application and utilization of technologies in defense forces can be done. So this is just the suggestion that has been given in this particular article. Now moving on to next article. More finance needed to wean India's electricity grids of coal. Now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, environment and related developments. Now first of all guys, before going on in this article, I would like to tell you some basic background information. Now guys, first of all, right now, so we are already sitting on 21st of November. So by end of November, India will be participating in COP28, Conference of Parties 28. Now this is annual meeting of the countries who are signatories of UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay. Now the countries, they meet every year and they discuss strategies that how they can ensure that carbon emissions can be reduced. And in 2015, UNFCCC, they adopted Paris Agreement. Under the Paris Agreement, countries agreed that they will try to ensure that temperature rise should not exceed 2 degrees Celsius, and if possible it should not exceed 1.5 degree Celsius. And for that, intended nationally determined contributions have been taken. These are the goals that have been adopted by the different countries so that these goals can be achieved. Okay. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that one of a crucial element to ensure that temperature does not goes beyond this. Okay guys, is voice now clear? I hope the voice is now clear. Okay. So basically we need more technology, we need more money. And developed countries have promised that $100 billion will be given to developing countries, and that $100 billion has to come by 2020. But up till now, that $100 billion has not come. And actually, even more than $100 billion are actually needed. So basically, a lot of money is needed in this particular capacity. But okay, guys, I hope that the voice is audible now. Okay. Okay, guys, I hope that the voice is audible now. Yes, please confirm, is voice audible or not? Okay, so we will just recap what we have discussed. So basically, guys, I have told you this particular thing. Okay. Okay, somebody, okay, Ashu, please tell me that till which point you have heard, where voice went out, please let me know. Okay, so basically, as I have told you, okay, so as I have told you this particular thing, let's recap. So basically, guys, what we have seen this particular thing that right now the world needs to reduce their carbon emissions if they want to achieve the target of 1.5 degrees Celsius. We want that our temperature should not go above 2 degrees Celsius, but if possible, our temperature should not go 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is an ambitious limit or ambitious goal that we have set. And if we want to ensure that our temperature should not go above 1.5 degrees Celsius, we need to reduce our emissions by 43%. Okay, by 43%. Okay, but as per the steps that we are taking right now, we will be able to reduce only by 2%. Okay, so we need to do much more in order to ensure that we reach our targets. Now, guys, understand this thing that a large number of carbon emissions are because of electricity generation. Electricity generation. And when we talk about the context of India, guys, we see this particular thing that according to Power Ministry's data, India's peak electricity demand is 234 gigawatt. 234 gigawatt. That is the electricity demand of India. And out of that 70% is coming from the coal power. Okay. So therefore, we want to transition. We need to move to the clean energies. For that, we need money and we need finance. We need technology. Now, developed country promised that $100 billion will be given by 2020 to in developing countries, but up till now that money has not come. So developing countries such as India, they are saying that developed countries need to deliver on their promise of technology and finances, and that particular thing will be discussed into the upcoming COP28, which will be held in Dubai. Okay, so now if you read the heading, more finances needed to wean India's electricity grids of coal. If you want to reduce our dependence on coal, give us money, give us technology, which developed countries have not delivered. So this is the biggest controversy, this is the biggest contention that is there in the case of developed and developing countries. Now moving to the next article, subsidies to spur growth for now, investment to take off post 2024 polls. So basically, guys, this has been a very big time problem of India. Now, article does not contain much substance. I will first give you background and then I'll go in that particular article. Now, see this thing. What happened last year? Prime Minister of India used one particular word, that is Revdi culture. What is Revdi culture? Revdi culture is a practice, is a phenomena where political parties are offering freebies to the voters. Political parties are offering freebies to the voters. Now 2024 general elections are impending and it has been provided. So basically what has happened, a report has been released by the Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs has released this particular report. Okay. And this report has released India 2024 outlook. Now they say this particular thing that because elections are impending, Government. Okay, guys. So there was a power outage that happened. Because of that, this video got struck or video got disrupted. So, guys, there was a power disruption that happened. So, we were discussing the article about power electricity. Electricity disruption happened. Because of that, video got disconnected. Now I have connected again. I hope that the video is now clear to you. So, we were discussing this particular article. Okay. Now, though power outage was only for 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, it just got disconnected and it got restored. But all the things got disturbed. Fine. So we were discussing this particular article that right now, as we are going to the elections, so according to the Goldman Sachs report, government will prioritize more on subsidies. Government will prioritize on those kind of measures or those kind of expenditures which are largely revenue in nature. Capital expenditures will not be prioritized that much right now, because guys, see this thing, that when you're doing capital expenditure, you are building an asset. That asset will be delivered after 5 10 years. So after 10 years, who will be there to observe you? You need to deliver right now. So it has been said that now government will focus more on subsidies so that immediate growth can come, so that money immediately in the hand of people can reach. This particular estimate has been given. And also it has given some estimate that by what time Reserve Bank of India will cut its interest rates and all such kind of a things. But I will not advise you to go too much in that particular kind of a detail. Why? Because guys, by the time you will write your exam next year, all these particular things will already be happened. And okay, so that is something. Now guys, for that particular reason, I always advises you that when these reports are giving forecast that in next 2 months this will happen, next 3 months that will happen, that is not very much important for us, because by the time we write our examinations, these informations become redundant. So therefore, just go in the heading. No need to go too much in detail in such kind of an articles. And this wisdom is very important, so that you can skim through newspapers effectively, so that you can very selectively take up the articles that are going to be important for us. So that is all guys about it. And moving on, and let's take the practice question for today. So the question that we have is, India's workers are at a disadvantage compared to the most successful economies of Asia. In this context analyze as how far the recent proposal of 70 hours work week would help. So this particular question will be for GS paper number 3, 10 marker question. So that is all guys about it. And now guys, if you have any questions which you want me to specifically address, please write your questions in the comment box so that I can address. Yes guys, any questions if you have, please write here so that I can address them. Yes guys, if there is any question, please ask so that I can address them. Any? Okay, guys. I hope then that is all. Okay. There is one question, sir. How to cover GS4 ethics portion? Please suggest any free lecture or notes for self preparation. Okay. So this is a question by Mahadev. Okay. So dear, see this particular thing, that as we talk about GS paper number 4, first of all, go through the syllabus and see. One thing just I want to tell you that first of all, for GS paper number 4, things are little bit different. Now let me tell you why. First of all, when we have the polity, geography, economy and these kind of things, we have an understanding about this particular thing already because we have read them in the school. But when we are dealing with the ethics, there are a lot of philosophies, there are a lot of the core theories of philosophers that are there, which you should understand, which you have to understand. So therefore, what I will suggest you is that what you can do, you can take the syllabus first of all, and you should go word by word. Understand this thing that there are some standard textbooks also that are there in ethics, but nowadays they are not delivering on the from exam point of view. Why? Because guys, most of the textbooks that are there out there in the market, they have been written around 2013-14. Since then syllabus has changed a lot, and the type of questions that are now being asked, they are not coming on core theory. You have to complement everything with the relevant examples, relevant contemporary themes. So for that particular thing, you have to do some original work. Okay, so just take the syllabus and any textbook, for example, that you find is comfortable, you can just see theory part from there, and you should collect the examples to support that thing. Also any of your friend or anyone who you think can guide you, please do reach out to them for understanding the complex concepts that are there. For example, deontology, consequentialism, how they are different from them. Okay, for example, other theories that are there, for example, philosopher point of view, if you don't have philosophy, optional. So for that, I will advise you that you please seek the help of some senior or anyone you can who can help you out in this particular capacity. Okay, so any other question if there? Okay guys,